1, 2. Is it 1, 2, 3, clap? Or is it... Okay. 1, 2, 3, clap.
Boom. We got it.
I would like to welcome a guest to the channel today. He's actually been with us before in January of 2023. Can you believe it's been that long? Well, he is back, and he is Richard Glenn Schmidt, author, musician, blogger, podcaster, YouTuber, and probably more, tuning in from Florida. Welcome, Richard. Thank you for being here.
Oh, man. I can't believe you wanted me back. Thank you. And hello to everyone out there.
I understand you just had a birthday. Is that true?
Yeah. This is true. Another successful rebirthing ceremony. We had the primal scream therapy, and I went down the water slide. And they had 2 inner tubes pressed together with like slime. It's like pop out. You do that too, right?
Right,
every
of course.
year. Yeah.
Revisiting the trauma of birth. Of being born.
Shout out to my mom right there.
So, I invited you here today because earlier this year you released your newest book.
It's true. Ooh,
Giallo Meltdown 2. We will get into that in a moment, but first, for the audience who may not be familiar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your history in the movie watching community, if you will, because you've been in the scene for quite a while.
Yeah, well, my parents were movie people. My dad loved those macho war movies and science fiction movies like Blade Runner and Alien. And my mom loved the new release shelf, so whatever was hot and new, she would stay with it. Yeah, man. She'd stay with it. And because I was a child of the tail end of the 70s, child of the 80s proper, I could not be a horror fan. Because on my little black and white TV, I saw Girls' Night Out and Prom Night and Tourist Trap when I was like 7 or 8.
My God.
And then Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, her hosting movies, and Commander USA, just all of that stuff combined with a little show MTV aired called This Is Horror, aka Stephen King's World of Horror, that was just all about all the new horror movies, Evil Dead 2 and whatever Clive Barker was up to, Hellraiser. Those things were injected right into my brain. And so I became this fiend who must rent all the horror movies at my video store. And then fast forward to college, when I'd kind of like the end of college, when I'd given up on horror. The 90s were tough.
Oh, yeah.
It was tough. Like, now we can go back and look at the 90s and say, oh, it wasn't all bad. You just have to dig. But in the 90s, we didn't know how to find good horror. It just was impossible. So I just stopped watching the stuff. And when my wife and I were dating, I rented 3 key films. I rented Dario Argento's Phenomena, which I'd seen as Creepers. I'd never seen the Phenomenon version. And I rented Argento's The Stendhal Syndrome, which I just knew it was Argento. I didn't know anything about it. And then I rented Zombie, a.k.a. Zombie 2, from our pal Lucio Fulci, and proceeded to watch those in one weekend and totally just jump-started my horror love. And I got into Italian horror, Spanish horror, like really deep diving into 80s slashers. There's very few 80s slashers I haven't seen. I'm working on seeing them all. I'm excited about that. But yeah, and then I just started writing about horror movies in 2004, and I started doomedmoviethon.com because everyone else's opinions were wrong. And I was right. No, I just had the ego, and I really, really wanted to put my words out there. And I didn't want to just blog. I wanted my own site, damn it.
A .com.
A .com. I didn't know what a blog was, honestly. Never been real with it. And then eventually started the podcast with my buddy Brad, my buddy Jeffrey, and Simon. And the Hello, This is the Doom Show is the podcast, still going. And all of a sudden I started turning these things, these movie-thons I was having, my movie marathons, I started turning them into chapters of books. And here we are, real success on your show, Katie of the Night. katieofthenight.gov.
I love it. So, Giallo Meltdown 2 is, of course, the long-awaited sequel to Giallo Meltdown 1. Actually, it's just called Giallo Meltdown.
Yep.
How would you describe, to someone who doesn't know, the contents of these books? What are these?
These are me exploring Giallo in the absolute wrongest way possible. I should have done a movie-by-movie review, alphabetical, with a beautiful title index with some of these movies with their 15 different alternate titles, cross-referenced, and then organized by country, which, could get complicated if you don't think that anything but Italians make Giallo, but hey, we'll get to that topic later. And I just do movie-thons. I usually start on a Friday night, and I will watch movies until, a Sunday evening, and hopefully take Monday off if I have the time, because then I've watched, 15 to 18 films, and I just document my thoughts in real time about each film as we go along, record what we eat, record the drinks we drank. Although Giallo Meltdown 2, not a lot of alcohol in it.
It was a sobering journey.
Very sobering. I had to stay awake, so I did a lot less boozing. There were many shots of J&B that we did, but, and we being my wife, who joined me on all of these movie-thons.
Bless her.
Yeah. And it was time to do a second book because I didn't do a good enough job with the first one. I had important titles that I'd left out by accident, and I had a growing pile of movies. In fact, I think when I talked to you last year, I said something to the effect of, I have more movies for Giallo Meltdown 2 than I did for Part 1. But common sense prevailed, and, I had to cut some stuff.
That's actually my next question. I don't know if you know off the top of your head, but how many films did you cover in the first book versus the second book?
So the first book was 215, and the second book was 207, I think.
You were so close.
Really? Did I blow it? Oh, I was close to beating the first book.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I lost it. It was one of those things where I had, several chapters worth of movies with no subtitles, so I deleted those. I wasn't going to watch a film in another language. It just didn't seem right to try to review something like that.
I only do that when I'm desperate.
Absolutely desperate. And then I got rid of movies that were really, really bad quality. Like, not just VHS rips, but super pixelated. Like, you download the movie and it's 130 megs, and you're like, oh, that's going to be rough. That's going to be a hot potato right there. And then the last thing I did was I deleted movies I just didn't want to see. And there was a lot of movies that, just based on my taste, I said, no thank you. So
I didn't realize you had standards.
Well, we'll talk about some of my standards. There's a question coming later about my least favorites from the book. Okay. I'll give you guys a little window into what I don't want to watch.
So So the impression is that it took longer to write Giallo Meltdown 1, obviously. It seems like maybe you did Giallo Meltdown 2 in a quicker amount of time. So I wanted to ask, which one was more difficult?
I think the first one was probably more difficult. The turning the first chapters that were never meant to be a book into something that was not just a blog post. And I had a bad method of using notes. I did, instead of writing what I thought about the movie in real time quite as cohesively, I had a lot of like, well, I'm tired, I'm just going to write a couple words down. And then later I would be looking at these mysterious words in my notes and just being like, I have to rewatch part of this movie because I don't know what in the world I was talking about. I would leave myself the worst clues ever. Like policeman, angry can't shoot flap. I'm like, what? Then I'd go back and go, oh, policeman angry can't shoot flap. That's a scene from the movie. No, that never happened. For the second one, I really tried to write the entire review during the movie. So it made the process speed up a lot. So I had much less editing to do when I went to go like finish the chapter. So it was almost a complete entry in the book within an hour and a half or however long the movie was. That helped me a lot. And for the first 5 chapters of the book were in 5 months. I did a movie-thon every month. And then I completely lost momentum. Had a huge break. Completely, I don't know what wall I hit or what happened. Blame the pandemic or blame frickin', I don't know, my bad attitude. Did you say Jim Carrey?
I said Mercury.
Yeah, Mercury was in retrograde. It was harsh in Jim Carrey. He was giving me some shit. Yeah, it was really just I just did not want to keep going. So I pulled myself up by the old Giallo straps. Everyone out there who's a fan of Giallo, you know what I'm talking about. And I just did it. I just really pushed to get this thing done. I gave myself an unrealistic deadline, maybe 2 or 3 unrealistic deadlines, and blew through them completely. But finally got done.
Well, congratulations on that, by the way. I don't think I told you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I pushed really hard to make this better than the first one. I tried to make it funnier. I don't know if I did that. If you don't like my sense of humor,
I do.
If you don't, thank you. If you don't like my refusal to write a serious sentence, I could see this book really being obnoxious.
So going back to this specific book, which is what we're really here to talk about, how are your chapters here categorized? How do you have the films split up?
So, of course, I had more Italian titles than anything else. And then I had a lot of Spanish stuff, like a whole lot of Spanish stuff. And then all the other categories, all the other countries contributing to the miasma of the Giallo. And I just thought it'd be fun to do themed chapters, because I sort of didn't do as many themed chapters in the first book. I really wanted to push the themes on this one. And I did the British chapter, the Chinese chapter. I did the globe-trotting. I tried to hit as many countries in one chapter as possible.
That's so fun.
And then there was the slasher chapter. I had to go and find all those slashers that people were tagging as Giallo. And then, the Krimi. I had to do those old Krimis. And do the German Krimi is just the most wonderful thing in the world.
I was like,
that is probably the
zaniest.
That is some zany cinema right there. There's some huge box set of Krimis coming out.
Oh, really?
That looks fantastic. Yeah. Creamy.org.
Oh my god.
I have no idea.
Well, for an example for our audience here, your Asian chapter is called "Let's Go to Asia, Bruh."
The British one is like "You're right fit for a casket, governor." Like real corny shit.
It's very academic.
Yeah, that's right. That was my goal.
Okay, so obviously, like you just said, we are venturing to other countries, not just Italy. What do you have to say to the people who will tell you that these non-Italian films are not jolly?
Well, yeah, I one of my reviewers of the book, he wrote this really, really, really long review of the book. He weirdly listed every single film that I reviewed in his review. So, like, his review has this amazing word count, but it's just like the entire title index in there. And he did take issue with me doing the films from other countries. And I always say that when I say a British Giallo or a Swedish Giallo or a Hong Kong Giallo, it's not, I think the filmmakers, saw Who Saw Her Die and said, "Hey, Hong Kong friend, we need to make a Giallo just like that cool Italian guy did." And I don't think they thought that. At least I hope they didn't think that. That there was just something in the ether, something in the collective unconsciousness of filmmakers, and they just made films that were a lot like the Italian Giallo. So to shorten the phrase, a Hong Kong thriller and or horror movie with Giallo influences, I just say Hong Kong Giallo. And they're up for debate. I'm not Italian. I don't even think I even say the word Giallo correctly. It's probably like Giallo or Goog. I don't know how to say it. But like, I defer to anyone who claims to be a film scholar, because that's not me. I just a dude who's a fan of this stuff, who reviews stuff. I try to bring my expertise, which is just, I've seen a shit ton of these things.
And it shows in these books. It really does.
I try to bring the love.
You're seasoned.
Yes. My stinky brisket of film fandom. That phrase is going to come back to haunt me. I know this.
Did you see me deciding that's going to be the title?
Oh my god. I'm laughing because you're laughing. That was amazing. I broke Katie.
I just think the word brisket.
I'm telling you, it's hot.
It is hot. I cried. I think the word brisket is so funny, and then you put stinky in front of it. Okay. I'm going to be trying to be all serious and have a serious interview. I am a journalist. So, like you mentioned earlier, there were a lot of movies that you had to eliminate because they did not have subtitles. So, I would imagine a lot of these films seem pretty obscure, so I would imagine that you had to read a lot of subtitles during this time, which would explain why you didn't drink as much. But I'm just curious, do you prefer, if you have the choice, dubbing or subtitles?
I have to go with dubbing. Not because I don't enjoy subtitles. I enjoy seeing films in their original language, if possible, with the subtitles. Preferably subtitles that aren't gibberish Google translated ones. Or, subtitles that are in white in a movie that has a lot of bright scenes with some other language subtitles. Because, sometimes you watch a movie that has the burned in Greek or the burned in Dutch subtitles, and then the English subtitles are on top of those, and it's very difficult. I don't like that. But as far as my entertainment value goes, I love a dubbed movie. And and especially if that dub is questionable. There is one film in the book, I can't remember what it is, but there is one film where the dubbing is so bad that I almost couldn't stand it. I cannot recall what film it is. It's something I haven't... It's very obscure, whatever it is. It was shocking that it had a dub at all. And then when it started, I went, oh no. Because everyone was so awful, like at dubbing, at like voice acting, that it was brutal. Just brutal.
I always love a terrible dub myself.
There's always Blade in the Dark. And there's always, I want to say The Bloodsucker Leads the Dance has quite an incredible dub to it as well.
I haven't seen that, but...
I don't want that one to slip into obscurity. I haven't heard anyone mention that in a really long time.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's trying to disappear because it's so bad, but it's funny as hell. Like, that dubbing especially is wild.
We can't let it disappear. Okay, so back to this book. Not only, of course, let's take a moment for the cover art. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is by your wife, Lietta.
Yeah.
So not only is, there many pages of reviews, there's also some scans of examples of your handwritten reviews.
My serial killer scrawl.
No wonder you couldn't make sense of some of these after the fact.
I tried to include some of the worst pages, too, where I was the most tired while I was writing, so.
And we have some comics by Lietta in here.
Yeah.
But you'll have to buy the book if you want to see them.
Oh, thank you for not making the sale value drop.
Of course not.
I appreciate that.
Of course, as with Giallo Meltdown 1, we have the index. So if you want to look up a very specific title or remember, like, what page was that one movie on, he's got you. Yeah. So the way I would kind of describe the contents of these books, it's similar to, like, a reaction video on YouTube. Where people come right out of the theater and then they just start talking about what they just witnessed.
Yeah.
That's similar to what you have here. So it's a lot of like first impressions and not necessarily like deep diving into the film. And I appreciate that because it feels conversational. When you come out of a movie, you can just grab this off the shelf. It's like a friend waiting to talk to you about the movie you just watched. And, I keep coming back to this one because I haven't seen all of these yet. I wrote in my notes, these are sort of like a captain's log of watching movies. Because you also get to know what they're up to in between movies. So
yep, you get to hear me complaining about the world and retreating from reality a lot. I think it's definitely a pandemic book, this one, because there was no reason to go out there. Well, there's more than enough reasons not to go out there, but also I don't like going outside. I don't know why I live in Florida, because I hate the sun. So I'm always shutting everything down with the blinds shut and pulling the curtains so that we can live in a cave while we, ingested all these movies. Because this is just what I love to do, just watching unseen weird stuff.
Oh yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about the contents of these books is that they are funny, like we did mention earlier. They're very lighthearted and funny. Richard does not take this too seriously, and I appreciate that for sure.
That's how I stay out of trouble. There's two things people who meet me don't like. They don't like confidence, and they don't like seriousness. So I just turn it off and be silly so that I can please people.
So, yeah, in Giallo Meltdown 1, there are a lot of films I hadn't seen, marked them all. However, it would have made sense when I read Giallo Meltdown 2. If I started to mark all the film, it would have made more sense, basically, to mark the films I had seen.
Right.
Because there's a lot of stuff in here I have not seen.
I dug very deep. I promise you, I dug very deep for these.
Yeah, I mean, and it is really cool to have it all here in one spot. Because, you know, you can look up lists and watch reviews all day, but this is like a different kind of curation, I think. And it definitely, I got very interested in one specific movie, but we'll get to that in a minute. So some of the films you do cover in here that a lot of Giallo fans might know include, there's some Fulci, Murder Rock, New York Ripper, and Lizard in Woman's Skin. Maybe you were delaying, you were sleeping on some, well, not that you hadn't seen them, but you may have been sleeping on covering some Fulci.
There was definitely bad list making. There was, because I started the whole project of the first book not as a book, I was forgetting that I had done a Doomed Fulci-thon, movie-thon, and an Argentophobia movie-thon. And because I did both of those, as I started to do Giallo Meltdown, I wanted to not include films I'd already covered. And that's where I got into trouble.
Oh.
So as soon as I got into the bookmaking business, the self-publishing business, I totally forgot New York Ripper, Murder Rock, Argento's Trauma, and Stendhal Syndrome, and all just all kinds of key titles. And I was like, well, I guess I have to do another book.
We also get Two Mails for Lexa, which I love that title. Pieces, Happy Birthday to Me, Stage Fright, The Fifth Chord, Tragic Ceremony. And something that struck me when you mentioned, when you were writing, when I was reading your Tragic Ceremony coverage, is that you said that you don't find Camille Keaton all that attractive.
I think she's just not my type. I mean, she's certainly, the people filming her loved her in every movie she was in. She just, they loved her. She gets all of the most, cinematic attention. But yeah, just not my type.
Okay, well, I'll just let people lay into you in the comments.
I'm happy to be wrong about that. I'm more than happy. It's like I never found Susie Kendall very attractive, but I think she's an awesome actress.
Yeah, I hear you.
Not everyone could be Serena Grandi.
It's true.
Yeah.
Another film that you covered here is Paranoia, aka Orgasmo from 1969, the Carol Baker, Lindsay film. And something you said there is that Lou Castel freaks you out. And I will say, me too.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
He's different.
I know.
He's real different.
I mean, I want to say he's well cast or whatever, but...
Oh yeah. There's another movie with him where he plays a photojournalist who accidentally films or gets a photograph of like an assassination. I can't remember the name of the movie. I liked him better in that. He's just so creepy.
You know. So, of course, being that most of this book is films I haven't seen, there were subtitles that I just decided to go ahead and read about because it was intriguing.
Okay.
At least the title. So one of them is Byleth, the Demon of Incest.
Okay. That is not a great film. Period piece, 0 budget, not well filmed, and it does have Giallo stuff in it. There is certainly a black-gloved killer in it, but man, it's rough. It's real rough. I don't recommend that one.
I just gotta skip to my favorite title, probably, and that is Bloody Sex, which you claimed ruined your friend's search history.
Yes. Bloody Sex is early 80s Spanish. I don't know why they tagged it as a Giallo. It's slightly mysterious. It's definitely a a supernatural mystery, sort of. It could sort of be a Giallo Fantastico, but it's just super gross. The title is absolutely accurate and not in a fun way.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
You know, and you also covered this film called Naked Violence from 1969, and it was interesting because I had recently, before I got this book, I was looking into that film because it has Susan Scott in it.
Right.
And I was like, well, that sounds fun. And then I think I watched like the trailer or something, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
The 60s? They were this brutal in the 60s? How was that?
Well, it's a message movie about, the power of, the group think, the violence of one can inspire others. It's very much a Lord of the Flies type of thing. It's brutal, absolutely brutal. And you feel the inciting incident. You see from the like an objective perspective, and you see it from like the individual memories, like kind of a Rashomon. Everyone has a different version of the truth, but for all its seriousness and for all its lofty goals, the movie is also cornball bullshit. To top it all off, when characters are introduced, the villains are introduced, they have this hilarious stinger, like a bow 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 on the soundtrack that is deafeningly loud. Takes me right out of the movie. It's really ridiculous. There's a tacked on love story we did not need. No, we did not need that love story. But I mean, it's not a bad film. It's just really brutal, and I am not a fan of rape scenes in movies. And this one has a purpose, at least. They were trying to get you to empathize with the victim, and it was very effective in that. But man, that's not entertainment.
Thank you for taking one for the team.
No problem.
Now I want to talk about the film that I'm like desperately want to see now. And that is Olga O's Strange Story.
That is a weird movie, dude. That is a very weird movie.
Serena Grande and David Brandon?
Yes. It's delightfully trashy and crass. Just super fun, and I mean it might be beyond my sleazy capabilities as a film fan.
I looked at the cover and I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow. But it's kind of charming. Like, I definitely didn't dislike it.
I've never heard of it before, but it's funny that was like the random title that I went to of like interesting titles, and it's a Serena Grande movie, and I'm like currently thinking about her all the time. So
it sounds like a freaking S&M movie, or like a Jess Franco movie, like one of his alternate titles of something.
Olga O's Strange Story. Someone, I was reading a review that was comparing it to Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. I don't know if it's just because of that title or what.
I mean, sort of. Now I want to look at what I wrote about it. Wait a minute.
We can look it up in the index and find out what
page 54, everyone. What did Mr. Schmidt have to say? We get to see Serena's Grandies before the 15-minute mark. That's good. Okay, it's from the director of Scandal in Black, which is also nuts. And shot by Luigi Cuvelier, the guy who shot Deep Red. Oh my god. I did write, I like this better than Home Alone.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I wanted just to know what you meant.
I don't know.
I don't
remember what I meant by that.
I wrote that in my question.
I think I just picked a random movie I would rather not watch at the moment, and that was Home Alone.
Maybe it was Christmas time or something.
Could be.
The last film I'll bring up is one that I just watched. And it's here in this book, and that's 1997's Perfect Blue.
I think the world is unfair because director Satoshi Kon is gone. He died very young and left behind this body of work that is absolutely stunning. And Perfect Blue is a masterpiece. I was there from day one because I was a big anime fan.
No way!
And okay. It's true. Big anime fan for many years. And that one was the movie when it came out. And I've loved it ever since. But yeah, it's just masterful. And if you had to find one animated film that was a Giallo, and I'm sure there's others, any animated thriller could potentially have some Giallo type stuff to it. But yeah, you can do no wrong by checking out Perfect Blue.
I was scared for a long time because I thought it was going to be too dark. It was good. Like, I liked it. I didn't finish and go, oh, okay, I'm never watching that again. I think, like, I might watch it again. It was somehow palatable.
It has that brutality to it, but it's really...
It's still, like, relatable, kind of.
Yeah, it's trying to make a statement about how these actresses in Japan and, like, in the people, the young ladies wrapped up in the whole idol culture and how they're not treated well at all. I mean, look at any of even the boy bands are treated like shit over there, and in Korea too, where it's like they have to sacrifice their entire lives for, you know, some some record company executive's bottom line. So,
well, in the wise words of Richard Glenn Schmidt,
ooh.
I am less of a pop idol than I am a poop idol.
Hey. Poop idol. Yeah, there really were I did not leave any stones not pooped on. I mean, unturned while writing this book. I promise.
Okay, so the last thing that I want to ask you is, what were your favorites and least favorite films that you covered in Giallo Meltdown 2?
Okay, I want to end on positivity, so I'll start with the films that I did not like.
Okay.
You mentioned two of them already.
What?
Byleth, the demon of incest.
That's crazy.
Not great. As I spoke about, bloody sex. We'll never sit through that again. No thanks. There's worse stuff out there. There's worse stuff out there than both of those films, but no thank you. The worst film in the book, and probably contentious because it's the only film that doesn't get fully reviewed, is a little movie called Morbo.
Okay.
Morbo is a movie that is about a young couple who are unlikable from the moment they're on screen. They're newlyweds and they're the worst people on earth. And then they commit some animal violence that shattered my soul. And I don't understand how an entire room full of filmmaking people were standing around in 1972 watching them basically torture an animal to death, and nobody said, this shouldn't be in the movie. Also, we shouldn't be doing this, period. So I flipped out, and in the book I curse out the director and the entire crew and the actors. And I snapped the movie in half with my bare hands, which is funny because it was a DVD-R that I'd burned myself. So, you know, that's really showing them, Richard.
Still is.
Oh, wow. What a badass.
1972.
But no, I hate that movie, and I've never finished it. I have no idea what happens in the rest of the movie, and I don't care.
I think I read that review.
I was upset. I'm still upset.
Wow, I'm sorry to bring that memory back.
No, I brought it up. But let's end on a positive note with my three picks that I just want to will into existence on Blu-ray, because I love them so much. This movie the quality of this bootleg was so bad I had to watch it at like 15% size or 20% size so that I could actually see what was going on. So I had it on my computer and then shrunk VLC media player down to like the smallest possible and still see what was going on. Called Homicide in a Blue Light. It is a 90s giallo that feels very much like an 80s film. And David Hess and I think it's Florence Guerin are in it. And even though the quality was awful, I could see there's a gem of a movie buried in there. Absolutely great frickin' movie. Next up is the Italian title I'm going to butcher, so I apologize.
Let's have it.
This is Delitto and Via Teulada from 1980. This is directed by Aldo Lado.
Oh.
And yeah, the one and the only Aldo Lado. He made a TV giallo, and it's like an hour and 5 or an hour and 2 minutes. It's super short, but it is so fun, and it's got the vibe, which is the thing I'm always trying to pursue. Every time I watch a new giallo, a new Italian horror movie, any European film at all, I'm looking for the vibe, that like inexplicable excitement in my chest of watching some new, weird, morbid, messed up freaking movie. I don't know what I'm looking for, but it's always that I know it when I feel it kind of a moment. And Delitto in Via Teulada embodies that. It is so good. It's about a giallo that breaks out in a TV station. So they're trying to just make a giallo, and all of a sudden it turns into a real mystery, a real murder mystery. It's a bit like Clap You're Dead, except it's not bad. Clap You're Dead is it's not a great movie.
Never heard of it.
But oh wait, I was gonna be positive. I forgot. Last but not least, Long Lasting Days, 1973. If there is justice in this world, we will get a Blu-ray of Long Lasting Days. It is a wildly complicated plot, never boring. Dude returns back to a seaside town and meets the love of his life, and he's going out of his way to save her. I won't say what he's trying to save her from, but man, it is beautiful, and it's like thrilling. It's as a true giallo should be, and I could never guess where it was going. It kept like doing a left when I thought I was going to go right, and just awesome movie. So
you see what you're doing? It's
that.
making me want to keep picking up the book.
I'm my own best advertising team.
That's a beautiful title too.
Oh yeah.
Long Lasting Days.
It sums it up. It sums it up, the whole like nostalgic kind of feeling that it gives. And plus Ua Aulin, I believe that's her name. Right?
Right when you said that, my eyes landed on her name. Dude, I love her.
You will love that movie, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I think you're in for a treat.
Okay. Thank you for those. So I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you, like, being welcoming to new people, interested in any of these movies, and not being all like hoity-toity or anything like that. You know, me, I only started exploring movies in 2020, but I really appreciate you being so friendly and welcoming, and us just being able to connect over movies.
Your enthusiasm and your journey is why I reached out to you, because I was just like, man, Katie is having so much fun. I wish I could be in her place and start over. You know, like I wish I could start fresh and come and see all of these things for the first time new. That would be awesome.
It's like when people say, oh, I wish I could play that video game for the first time ever again. You know?
Right?
That same kind of feeling. So before we sign off, where can people find you?
Oh, the books are Amazon.com. Look up Richard Glenn Schmidt. Look up Giallo Meltdown. You'll find my stuff.
I'll link it below too.
You can also find me at Doomed Moviethon on YouTube and Doomed Moviethon on like Instagram and Twitter. Hello, This is the Doomed Show is the podcast I do. We're bi-monthly. Keep your ears peeled for a Katie episode coming up. We talk about slashers. We talk about Giallo. We talk about cult movies. It's all over the place. I'm really proud of the show. We've been going since 2011, and somehow we're only up to episode like 269 or something, but we'll get there.
That's still an achievement.
Thank you. It's definitely too many hours of this sexy voice right here. Yeah, and if you want to check out my music, I'm the Slow Wizard over on YouTube. My band is Gyrojets at YouTube as well. And I'm like TikTok and...
You are?
No. OnlyFans. No.
All right. Well, I'll put all the links below. Richard Glenn Schmidt, thank you for coming onto the channel again. Congrats on your second Giallo Meltdown.
Thank you for having me back. This is awesome. I can't wait to one day have you on the podcast that I do. And it's happening.
And I'll have you back on. We'll have to find another reason to have you back on sometime soon.
I don't want to write a third book, please.
We'll have to figure something else out then.
Okay.
Well, that wraps it up for this time. Thanks again for joining me on the Katie of the Night channel. Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.